Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Scuba. And today I am fortunate, if not honoured, to have Roger Hanson on the show. He is known in California and the US as the Seahorse Whisperer. And you'll find out why very quickly in this interview. Roger, believe it or not, and I still don't believe it, is 70 years old. He's a retired educator with many decades of diving experience. We'll find out exactly when he did learn to dive during the course of the interview. And just over 5 years ago, he discovered a colony of Pacific seahorses in Alamitos Bay. Correct me, I hope I haven't got that wrong, Long Beach, California. And they weren't thought to be found that far north. So he actually discovered them that far north. Since then, Roger has been visiting these seahorses typically 3 times a week and making 2 or 3 dives a day at least. I think last week he made 8 dives in one single day. And I believe he doesn't wear a wetsuit. And it's cold in California, as we all know, in the ocean. He's kept meticulous research records of the colony, research grade records. And he does this. He has a 4-hour round trip. He gets up early in the morning. He'll tell us about this. Goes all the way to the ocean, does his dive, and drives back another 2 hours at 70 years old. I don't know what he's taking, but I hope he shares that secret with us. In order to make the habitat sustainable and larger, Roger came up with a way, I think he calls it, to create a seahorse biome or a habitat, which he has to maintain every month because it's made from natural vegetation. So he has to make trips up into the mountains, I think it is, get to the sequoia trees, all that, get palm trees, get pine tree branches and stuff, and to rebuild the colony every month. And he's going to talk to us about that. But before I bring Roger into the stream, I'm just going to show a video which was made about Roger's work. It's just over 3 minutes, but it will set the scene for what we're going to talk about. So I'm running it live from Facebook because I don't want any copyright strikes. So hopefully this will work right now.
They call me the Seahorse Whisperer. I do 221 dives a year. If you went with me, you and I would be the only 2 people out of 50 million.
Whoops, mistake.
That's how rare it is. Ever since I was a kid living in Iowa, I always dreamt about the ocean. I am not trained as a scientist, but I've always had an interest. My name is Roger Hanson. I have probably spent more time with the Seahorse hippocampus engine than anyone else in the world.
There we go.
I saw my first seahorse here in Southern California in Alamitos Bay, January 30th, 2016. I was absolutely stunned. I did recognize how uniquely different the creature was. I was afraid they would leave. I knew how rare they were then. So I went down that night and built my first biome out of sticks, palm fronds, and pine branches. They named it Atlantis. And they loved the sticks. They wrapped their little tails around them. So I think I just guessed what they might like. So I built 2 more biomes, sister communities. One I called Vegas, and the other one I called the Bellagio. After a while, by the numbers I was seeing, they had set up a colony. And guess what? If you build it, they will come. It's captured interest, not just in California, but worldwide. To have them up this far up the coast is absolutely, totally rare. I started to learn things about measurement and taking good data. I've kept track for 4 years of all movements of all seahorses. I have 4 notebooks, each for each year of study, and in them I take information like tide, water temperature, UV rays, what phase we are in the moon, because all these things affect the seahorses. To my knowledge, I am the only one in the world that are tracking this particular species this way. I do not get paid. I drive probably 1,500 miles a month. And why do I do it? 2 reasons. One, for science. Secondly, I guess it's like those wild kitties that you feed that are in your neighborhood. I really liked them, and we developed a relationship. They liked me too. I started to learn about them and realize what a superior species. There's never fighting, never. It's just gentle beauty. And when you live with gentle beauty for long enough, it starts to affect you a great deal, to the point where I started saying, Roger, why can't you be nicer to people like these little creatures are nice to each other? That's really what happened. I consider myself a part of the herd, a little bit bigger, a lot older, but yes, friends.
There we go. A little bit of a glitch at the start, but I managed to fix it. So I hope you found that interesting to give a good background to Roger. And I'm going to bring him into the stream right now. Roger.
Hey.
How are you?
Great.
Like early morning, not early morning, mid-morning for you, night for me. So good to see you, my friend. Good to see you.
Nice to talk to you.
Right. I mean, that video, I could watch it again and again. It's just amazing, the energy, the passion that you've got for this seahorse colony. Before we get into that, though, can you just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself? Just, well, they know your age already, but you know what you did before you followed seahorses. I know I said educator, but what type of educator? You know, anything you want to tell us about yourself, just to give a bit of background.
Great. Okay, well, first of all, I'm married, and I should thank Carla Denise Overstreet, who is my wife. You're awesome. It lets me dive all the time. Great wife. I have 3 kids living in Wisconsin and Illinois, and 3 step kids living here in California. And I was a teacher for 38 years. I had 10 teaching credentials. I was sort of a late bloomer in life. So I taught everything from 3rd grade through college. And I was the coach of about everything that existed. But I always loved diving and photography. And in 1989, that's when I got into it. And I've kept track of every dive. I don't know why, but I did. And as it were, I've averaged 231 dives for 31 years. But I've actually picked up the pace after I retired in my 60s. And so it's very normal for me to go to the beach, and that's actually my email. Raj went to the beach. That's where I'm at.
Oh, how cool is that? How cool is that?
Yeah. I do want to say one thing before we go on. Always on TV and such, and I'm so blessed, everybody singles me out, but in truth, there should be 70 people who have backed me up. And I just want to say a few things briefly. Neil Garrick Madman from Devon, Topsham, England is my mentor. He texted me for 2 years and taught me the ropes about what to do. And then Jonathan and Jackie Hall, you're my sponsors. I just got to say it. And so I'm so thank you, John Kurtz. You've done so much for me as well. And Andreas and Leslie, you know who you are too. So I just want to say thank you for everyone else, including yourself, because if I'm anything at all, it's because of what everybody else made me. And that's the truth. Thanks.
Yeah, Neil's been a great mentor for me as well. He's been on the show.
Amen.
Yeah. So yeah, I like Neil. He's and because of Neil, I've got into seahorses, of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're what I would call a diving veteran in the kindest sense of the word, and in many respects, I guess, a pioneer. Can you let us have the skinny on your scuba diving passion? Started with when you learned to dive, how you progress through the sport, and how do you keep the passion going?
I should have been a fish. That's, I guess, the key here. I've said many times on land I'm a C minus. I think that's very true. And underwater I'm Mensa though. I just can think and feel, and you don't have all the nervous energy that we've all gone through in this world this last 13 months at least. And so it's a peaceful domain. I originally wanted to do photography, and I would do that with snorkeling, but I couldn't stay down long enough to get a good picture. That's all I wanted to do. So then I got into diving. I loved it immediately, a resort course in Cancun, and it was already for me.
When was that?
Then I knew. 1989 in July 17th, 1989. So go ahead.
No, you can remember the exact day.
Yeah, I remember a lot. I can't remember when I leave my glasses or anything, but I can remember stuff from 30 years ago. Yes, you know, that's the way it works. So I went through dozens of classes. There are several good ones in every organization. I went with Patty International and took as many classes as I could. And then it came to some point in my life where I was nearly ready to be an instructor. A tragedy happened, of which I was there to help with. And I said that day, someone was in a lake, and it's a sad thing within Wisconsin. But after that day, because they didn't make it, I said, I am going to become an instructor. I'm never going to see anybody get hurt again. That's what got me into it. I've done research on the side my whole life in lakes and in quarries and the San Andreas Fault. So to find the seahorses, I was already working on something else. I was building homes for octopi, and it got 1.2 million views on the Weather Channel.
Wow. So, I mean, how you kept the passion for scuba diving going since 1989? Because a lot of people, I learned in 82, and I did have a break for about 10 to 12 years. But how have you managed to keep going all the time? So I think we've lost the audio there, Roger.
Well,
yeah, that's it. You got it back. No, it's gone again. We've lost the audio, Roger.
Whoa.
There you go.
I'm right here.
We've got you. Yeah. So, how did you keep the passion?
Hi there. You never know what you're going to see. So every day is a new day, and I have the attitude that there's something down there, and I have some very unique friends that live on the bottom of the ocean in Alamitos Bay, and they seem always glad to see me. And so
it was the marine life that really
yes.
And it's so easy to dive in California as well. You can just go off the shore easily, right?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, so let's get into the seahorses and talk about your passion, or should I say obsession for seahorses, really, isn't it? It's an obsession.
Yes.
What triggered all that off? I mean, okay, you did some work with octopus and stuff, but what this intense obsession you've got with the seahorses, what triggered that off?
Well, as a teacher, you're always trained to observe things. I think it's kind of like a law officer as well. But what happened was when I found the seahorses and started to check around, I found out there was really no information about hippocampus engines, which is the name of the species of seahorse. And so I went to Peru, and when I got down there, I dived with a professional seahorse gentleman, and he told me there wasn't that much either. So I was very curious, and when I realized what I had, I started to keep records immediately. And one thing led to, I never figured it would last this long. I figured, a couple months they'd be gone, but they seemed to like me okay, and they like what I build, so they stuck around. And so I've stayed with it. So they're kind of like, if you have cats and stuff that come around your neighborhood, but you feed them because you kind of like them, that's kind of like this. They're just fun, Yeah. And it's unique, and I'm just blessed that for some reason we get along.
When did you discover the seahorse colony, and how did you discover it?
I was working on my octopus city, and I should say, because it's such an honor, Jean-Michel Cousteau gave me a plaque. Not so much that I did anything great, but when he was a little boy, he used to dive with octopus. So I was actually had just got my plaque from him. I was so honored. It's mostly I'm an old guy who does not sit at home and gets out and works in nature. I think that's what he likes. So I was down working with my octopus city, and a seahorse swam by, and I thought somebody just threw it in out of a tank. But as I did more research, I realized there wasn't any. So thanks to really good people around the world who know more than I do, that's all of you, I listened and became very meticulous about how I did things for science, I would say. So I've stuck with it because I'll have on June 30th, I'll have 5 full years of records exactly. And they are meticulous. And nothing about science. I don't mean kind of science. I mean science, pure science.
Yeah.
The PhDs of the world have taught me. So
do you want to give us
really rare.
Some of the stats, the number of dives that you've made over 5 years?
Okay, sure. In the colony, I've made 760 dives. And I've seen a seahorse, which is rare. I don't think it's hard for you to understand this, but if I took you, for example, you and I would be the only 2 people out of 39 million Californians to see one in the wild. I have seen them out of those 1,760 dives, every dive except for 45, which is 97.4% of the time. And why do they stay? They trust me, frankly. They know I'm an old dude who doesn't hurt anybody. They like that I build them homes, and it's been an interesting process. Every year, eelgrass grows. That's where I found them. It all died off. I built homes underwater. They refuse to go to the eelgrass now, so they kind of con me into building. It's a symbiotic relationship.
So how did you come up with the idea of building a seahorse colony, or should I say city, really?
Well, it was really unique. I had talked to enough PhDs and scientists that don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody. The boys are the pregnant ones, if you folks don't know. And I had a pregnant boy, and it was only chest deep. 180 United States football players. That means they got equipment on, you know, not soccer, but tackle football. 180
Yep.
high school players came to play tackle in that water. And I'm thinking, oh no, they're going to kill him. That night I came back and I went down. I bought sticks about 2 feet long, pine branches and palm fronds. I just guessed. Went down below the littoral zone, which there is no growth down there. And I stuck the things in the sand and made like a kitchen table round biome. I named it Atlantis. And in a few days, they were hanging out there. So as winter came, the eelgrass died. I built 2 more biomes just like it. And I named one the Bellagio and the other Vegas. They lived there all winter. When spring came, they refused to go to the eelgrass. They only like my stuff. So every 7 weeks for 5 years, I've had to go build stuff. I have like 17 biomes out there now.
Wow. I think when we were talking before or messaging, you were saying that the biomes need constant rebuilding. Can you just tell the viewers what you actually use? Because you don't just use sticks anymore, do you? You've got like a magic mix, and how long it lasts, and what's involved, and also what sort of depths are we talking about?
All right,
I was yesterday, which unfortunately I didn't get any footage. I could have got footage, but they were stressed out by the other divers, and afterwards I did a little education session about not stressing out seahorses, but mine were at 29 meters, which is what, 95 feet. So yours are a lot shallower, right?
Yes. If we're talking meters, you're talking about 4 to 6 meters. If you're talking feet, we're talking 12 to 18 feet deep.
Right.
The reason I chose to use biodegradable materials was my octopus city was made out of kids' toys that I found on the bottom. It's really cute, but I took a lot of heat from everybody around the world for using plastic. So I don't do that. So I use natural items. And if you know the ocean at all, everything biodegrades in like 6 or 7 weeks. So I use sticks that are about 3 feet tall because the seahorses get to be about a foot tall. They like a canopy effect. And I put about 40 of them stuck into the sand. And the sticks are about as big around as your little finger, is a rough estimate, maybe your pointer finger. And they wrap their tails around them. But also they like a canopy effect. So I chose materials that last as long as they can. Like if you took a branch off a tree with vegetation on it, usually those kind of things fall off in a couple days. That just happens. So pine branches are tough. And so I stick them in the sand and they make a nice vegetative cover. Palm fronds last a long time. Bird of paradise leaves last a long time. Banana tree leaves last a long time. And so I don't have to change every other day. But about every 7 weeks, the stuff biodegrades. In other words, it rots, it turns brown, and invertebrates grow on it by the ton by then. So I just have to rebuild and put in new items. And but there's an art to that. The seahorses, they operate by smell too. You put in too much stuff and they know that's not their regular place. They don't like it. So they won't go there. So you got to kind of mix and match.
Ah. Right.
They have personalities, everyone. Yeah.
We've got a comment in from William Poulton, who thinks it's amazing that you're building a biome, and he's even amazed that they took to it, you know.
Yeah.
But I guess you try stuff and it works or it doesn't, right?
Yeah. You learn. First of all, I want to tell you, and I'm very, very 100% sincere about this. Every seahorse has a personality, just like if you have a dog or a cat, even if they're from the same litter, they're different. It's just like people. And to get along with them, you have to learn each one's behaviorisms and where the line is. They'll let you know. Some swim away in a second. They don't want you looking at them. Some don't mind you hanging around. And so for me to get along in the colony, I had to learn each individual and know when it was time to go. That was the truth. You had to learn, as a teacher, you kind of learned that too. Got too close to a kid's desk and they let you know. The
Right.
seahorses do as well. And the thing is, there are no walls where I work. It's 258 acres, the bay. So if they don't like it, they leave. That I learned. Right. And originally I took a lot of photographs. I think that's just human nature until they started to leave. So I finally just put my camera down, much kind of like Jane Goodall did in her studies. I didn't know it at the time. However, I became an observer. And as I became an observer, I became much more welcome. Right. You know.
And just another question in from William.
Thank you, William.
He says, I would have thought the pine sap would have been dangerous to the seahorse, but I guess it's not been, right?
No, not at all. The branches you're talking about would be up the stem a little bit more, where it'd be like that sappy material. You don't get any at all with I take the ends of the tree branches, you know.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I know that the seahorse that you've been studying is the Pacific seahorse, because I can't pronounce the Latin. Do you get any other species of seahorse there, or is it just the one species?
Where we live, that's it, and that's very rare. It only happened because of El Nino. And to give you 100 miles from us is San Diego, and they're more prevalent there and then down in South America. But incidentally, the year that because I talk to the PhDs everywhere, the year that the seahorses made their way up the coast where I am, like Scripps and Birch Aquarium in La Jolla, California. They do a study and they dredge. And every year they don't try to, but they usually get about 4 or 5 seahorses down there when they do their research. The year that ours moved up there, they got 95. So what had happened was that warm mass of warm water forced creatures to move up the coast to find residence. And I would say that was 2015, based on what research I've done.
Yeah, but you do find seahorses in cooler waters. I mean, we've got big, relatively sturdy populations in Britain, and Neil published something recently where they've got them in Denmark, which the water is much colder than England.
Wow. 55, maybe 55 degrees. That's about as cold as it gets.
Right.
Fahrenheit.
Has the population grown significantly over the years, or is it, you mentioned it can be transient, or?
Yeah, most seahorses that I have observed are transient, and it's kind of funny. The first one I found is still alive, and she's still my friend, Daphne. I met her January 30th, 2016. She's about 5.5 years old now, but she was alone for a long time, and it was funny. Finally, a boy came along, and I was so excited. They bowed when they met each other, and they just decided that, nah, you're not for me. And the boy swam away, and she didn't care. It was kind of like a Match.com or some kind of dating thing where you meet somebody, but there's just no chemistry. So just because they come doesn't mean they'll stay. And of the 16 that I have met, 6 stayed in my colony. And when we talk about a colony, what we're really talking about is pairs setting up to have babies. That's what a colony is.
So you've got names for them all, haven't you?
Yes, I do. Currently, I just have 2 girls left, Daphne and CD Street. But I have some pictures I'd like to show you. And talk. All right, this is Daphne when she was a little girl. Let's get that. All right. When I first found her, is that pretty good? Yeah. She was just a little kid. And then the next one I found was Bathsheba.
Yeah.
She was a girl, very friendly, likes to hang around people. Then the third one was Toby. He was a boy. There's a story behind him. And then the next one who showed up was Kenny. He was a big boy. He was a big orange seahorse.
Yeah.
Kenny. And then came Deep Blue.
Right.
He's a good guy. And the last one, these are what we call old generation seahorses, probably born in 2015, 2016. But a new one showed up named CD Street. And CD Street's named after my wife, Carla Denise Overstreet. This is CD Street.
Right. Got it, yeah.
She's a good girl. All right. She's a good kid. And I want to show you how big they are now, too. This was taken a year ago. This was the Bathsheba. There's my hand. I don't see that.
That's big. That's big.
Yeah, I know. And this is Daphne. Daphne was so little when I first found her. But she's about 11.5 inches long and about 1.5 pounds now. She's a big girl.
How long are they expected to live for?
Well, here's the thing. Science says 4 to 5 years. But then again, no one knows that much about the species. No one spent time with them like I have. They say a 2-week study often costs $25,000. I have 5 years. So you might enjoy it. This is one of my logbook pages. And the yellow background means I did that at night. And the orange stands for CD Street. And the other little yellow circle with the brown is Daphne. And so I keep track of everything every time I go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've done the 5 years now, haven't you, of study?
June 30th, I'll have 5. I'll keep on after that. But I wanted originally, I am going to write, and I do have really significant information. Those scientists who I speak to, like one from a specific big name aquarium here said, I've been doing this 27 years. I keep really good records, Roger. Your stuff is meticulous. And CNN said the same thing. And those who know me know as well. But I really have to say, if it's meticulous, you can thank Neil Garrick Madman, who taught me the ropes.
Yeah,
I think he's got like 44 years in the field, so you should.
Neil's the executive director of the Seahorse Trust in the UK, and they keep a worldwide database of seahorse sightings. And I would urge anyone to go to the who've seen seahorses to go to the Seahorse Trust website and log the sightings online, because it is really useful and important information. So are you going to publish the work then? You said you were going to write it all up.
I have two things that I'm doing. One of them is about Daphne, who I say is a seahorse of a different color, and what that means. I was, amongst the many things that I became, was a special education teacher for kids that have unique learning disabilities. And Daphne is kind of like that. She is really different. Two examples. I followed her because I was really curious. She was swimming down a tape measure that I had laid on the bottom, and I wanted to see how fast she would go. So I've never seen a creature do this. She swam right over to where the sand and the water meet along the shore, turned on her side, and swam right along that edge to try and get away. So I didn't bother. Another time, these are the early years, I followed her. She swam right up to the sand, and she leapt up onto the sand 3 feet, up onto the sand. That would have ended her life. So I got out and I put her back in. And obviously we've made friends because it's been 5.5 years, but I never have seen anything. She is totally different as a species. I'm writing a children's book about her. And the other book I'm going to write is to be more statistical. It's going to be called The Seahorses of Alamitos Bay. And that will kind of talk about everything and the science of it as well.
Right.
It's hard to get me out of the water.
We've just got another question in from William. Can the different species of seahorse crossbreed at all? I don't know.
I think they can. And we only have that one specific species here. We don't have, which is hippocampus engines. And engines, just like we have Homo sapiens, you wouldn't say Homo sapien, so it's hippocampus engines. That's the only species we have.
Yeah, the Pacific seahorse, right?
Yes.
Okay, now, I mean, you don't look like you're getting on in years, but you are getting on in years.
Yeah, I know. How did that happen?
To hang up your fins, who's going to take over the research?
Well, I had a young couple who moved, Ashley and Jacob, talking about you, and I was always hoping they would. They got really busy in the scuba business. I have another friend of theirs who's an instructor who I'm going to bring in, and I was talking to him. I hope that I think his last name is Farmer. I was hoping that he will become the next guy down the line. I have a lot of energy. I don't know. Besides doing last year, I did 522 dives at age 70 and 200 hikes. So,
Can you just tell the viewer? Yeah, but you used to be an athlete, didn't you? You were a cross-country coach and stuff.
Yeah, I was. I had football, had wrestling, had cross-country, had track, scuba instructor.
Tell the viewer, what a typical day for you is when you go to dive with the seahorses.
Well, it's I live a long way away. That's the thing. And so I usually get up at 2 a.m, drive to the beach, sleep in my car for a while, and then, pardon me, and then I'll go dive. And if you're asking how long is a dive for me, I tailor everything according to the temperament of the species I'm working with. I've learned that 20 minutes is a lot of time to spend with them. And when I say spend in the colony, that doesn't mean I'm right in their face. I don't do that. I'll go build, I'll go check out other things, and I'll come back and visit. But I watch to see their behaviors. That's why they call me the Seahorse Whisperer. I actually talk to a horse whisperer about what they do, a really good one. And she does the same kind of thing. She watches the littlest tiny things that goes on with the horse. I watch for the littlest tiny things that go with the seahorses. So I'll do a 20-minute dive. I'll get out for 20 minutes, let them rest, and then I'll come back in. And I might do a dive for 36 minutes, but I'm not in their face much longer than a minute because I don't want to stress them, and they will stress. So if you're ever observing seahorses, they don't like you to look at them in the eyes, and I'm serious, just like you don't smile at a monkey. And so if you give them some room, come back and visit. But don't just stand there taking pictures because I don't really like it at all. So I'll spread out my day. I like to do 3 or 4 dives because I got a 2-hour drive to get over and a 2-hour drive to get back. And I give them some rest time, and I give myself some rest time too. So I end up doing, I've averaged 30.2 dives a month for 5 years with them.
Wow.
And it's worked out well for both of us.
Just coming back to the research and taking over from you when you hang up your fins, have no universities kind of said, can you let us have your research and we'll take it over when you no longer want to continue? I mean, it must be a great subject for a PhD student. I know. As a matter of fact, I've had PhD students dive with me and they go, this would be a terrific PhD project, and it would because it's original data and backed by those PhDs who would love to do this but have to work where people are, so they have to work at aquariums. We're friends, and when I talk they listen and I listen too, but I know this would be a great project for others. Right now my motto is a colony first, and so whatever I do is protect the colony. And right now, because in a city of 600,000 people, if it gets known too much where it is, the seahorses would leave. It would not be. It would not be healthy for them. And I've taken people, but I always choose good people, like you, for example, who are professional, who understand the big picture, and put everything aside for the health and welfare of other little things. And so I do have a young man that I'm tailoring to be the next seahorse person, and I'll see him tomorrow. And is it true that, because I saw on one of the videos that you don't wear a wetsuit, you just go in your shorts and t-shirts? Well, that's pretty much true. I like to be like a fish. I should teach scuba diving under the ice in Wisconsin, where you had to take a chainsaw and cut holes and go under. So I got used to that water, which was like 35 degrees. I think I did 40 dives on a shorty, which means bare legs. Here in California, the water's cool. The other day I did a dive in only shorts and no wetsuit or hood or gloves. It was 52. That was cold. No way. Here's the thing, Neil. When I come home in my car, I'm so cold a lot of times that my candy bars melt and my Pepsi heats up, And by the time they get home, I'm warm. If not, it's called sleep in the other room, so I don't freeze my wife to death. Anyway. Now, a question that's been on my mind for a while. I mean, I mentioned on one of your Facebook page posts that you were diving on the colony and the water, and then the light went, and there was something swam over. Did you actually find out what that was? Okay, I know there are sharks in the bay. There are. I actually took a picture of one. It was an angel shark, and about 5'3", and I was very close to it, a couple feet away. And I know, and I talked to the gentleman at Long Beach State University, who's known as the Shark Man in California, and I asked him, "Do you think there's any great whites in the bay?" He said, and I'm trying not to quote out of context, but he said, "We've never found anybody be absolutely shocked if there weren't some juveniles." And my response was, based on my couple thousand dives in the bay, I would say there's an 80% chance there's great whites some of the time. And so what are the shadows that come above my head? They're not surfboards. I would guess they're sharks. That I'm pretty chill with sharks anyway. And it could be a sea lion. They get 7 feet, long, but I doubt it. They're probably just sharks. It's just in the bay, you cannot see sometimes more than 2 inches.
So you just see a shadow and you go, okay.
Yeah.
One day, there were 10 great whites off the coast, and I was diving and I was doing my 20-minute stops. 4 helicopters went over one at a time to view it. It was just on the other side of a peninsula area. And when the 4th one went over, I go, that's it, because I knew what they were looking for. I thought, time to go. There have been whales in the bay, right where my seahorse villages have been too. So they're big stuff in there. I know that.
All right. Any close shaves during your diving experience?
In my lifetime, only out of my own stupidity. I got lost. My friend was good. My good friend John, you're listening. He was supposed to show up. We were going ice diving. I'd already cut a hole, and there was snow on ice, so it looks dark. Well, anyway, like an idiot, I went by myself. I got lost. I could not, and I had a line. I didn't. I just was cocky. Go, I'll just drop down under the hole here and look around. Well, I got cocky and I took off, and I could not find my way back. Then I got a free flow regulator, which means all the air is going to come out of my tank. I was so scared. I did panic. I pounded on the ice. It's so thick that a 18-wheeler truck could sit on, so there's no way to chip your way out. Anyway, he was the map maker. I had set a line out, staked on the bottom for a 1/4 mile. It was 10 acres. I headed for the line, found it, pulled myself down the line, and realized I was going the wrong way. Came back, and the line was tied off. And frankly, here's how I got out. And Jacques Cousteau and a friend, this happened to them too. And Jacques Cousteau got out in a cave in France, and his friend drowned. I got out this way. I knew what quarter of the rock quarry I was in. I swam looking for lighter colored water until I saw a beam of light coming down. I got out. I had 200 pounds of air.
Wow.
And just shook my head. So I would have died out of stupidity. And I learned a lot that day. That's my close shave.
Just that one?
Just one. Yeah. That would have done it.
Now, we've not talked about where you've dived and where you've been to dive. But where's the best dive you've ever had? Where was it?
I think a lot of it has to do with friendship. Dive 5000 was in Cozumel. And it was so neat because my friend John Kurtz, he was my student in 5th grade. We've been friends for 40 years now. It's kind of funny. Best friends. I was his best man. He was mine as well. And so we went to Cozumel, and Channel 28 from Mexico City nominated me as Diver of the Year. That's how I got to meet Jean-Michel Cousteau and all that. I didn't win, by the way. But I like Cozumel. I've been to the Great Barrier Reef. I have not been everywhere in the world, but I like Cozumel. I don't know why. I think it's just the combinations of places that you can see, and the reefs and the fishes, and pardon me, and warm water, whatever that is.
Well, I thought you dived in warm water.
Alaska was fun too, though. That was fun.
Yeah. So Williams asked another question. How long are you staying under if it's 55 degrees and you're in a t-shirt?
I can do 45 minutes. I do. The oil rigs out here off California, and it's the bottom of the oil rig is 700 feet deep. So of course we don't go there. We go down about 100 feet. And I did 3 dives that day, and I just had shorts on. Everybody else had dry suits on, and they took a lot of pictures. Really, that's true. It was 53 that day. I remember that. But I did all the dives. Yeah, 3 dives that day of a boat.
All right. And Williams, come on in. If you like Cozumel, the Red Sea will be amazing for you.
I'm sure it would.
So
I have many miles to go. Sorry.
Yeah, Williams dived a lot in the Red Sea.
Very good.
So I take it Cozumel is the favourite location that you've dived today.
Yeah.
Right, what about the Great Barrier Reef? Not impressed?
You know, for a diver, that's supposed to be like Mecca. You know, the Great Barrier Reef. It's supposed to be, you know, and it's beautiful. And actually, that's where I met Jean-Michel Cousteau. He was on board the same boat as me for 5 days, and I never even said hi, because then I was a rookie, and I thought, Oh, that's a Cousteau. Oh no, he said. He laughed about that now, but I don't know what I was expecting, like men from the moon down there, or what? But it was nice. But I've seen other stuff, I guess I would say. You know.
Right, so I'm going to give you as much money as you want, and I'm going to come over to California and take over the Seahorses.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah. So you've got time.
All right. Carl will be happy.
Where would you go to dive?
Oh wow, Red Sea does sound really good. I think the ones that I always wanted to go, some of my friends went that I really liked, was to go to like Palau and the aquarium in the Pacific. I used to be a scuba diver for them, and inside of the aquarium there's a 360,000 gallon tank, which means it's like 25 feet deep, and the center piece of the aquarium it is set up to look like Palau. And I've always heard that there were great different varieties of species there. I think I would enjoy that. You know?
Yeah, that's on my bucket list, and everyone tells me Palau is absolutely out of this world. So if you book a ticket, I'll come with you.
I got to tell you what this hat is here, okay? This is my high school. It's Lewis Central High School. And I like wearing it because back in high school, I only had a 2.68 grade point average. That's like a C plus.
Yeah.
And now I laugh because I'm so into science and all. But hi back there. Anyway.
I think William's going to join us in Palau. It's on his bucket list as well.
All right.
Right. So
we're
just about out of time. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Roger, anything? Just before I put my final question to you.
All righty.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Oh yeah, I'd like to say hi to my kids back in Wisconsin and Illinois, and my stepkids and Daisy here in California, my grandkids. You're awesome. Y'all ought to learn how to dive. And I want to thank everybody who's made me who I am. My mom and dad, of course, my sis. And especially Carla, you're the awesomest wife ever. I would know the difference, and you know it. Thank you for everybody who sponsors me. Thank you for all the coverage. And I should thank the guy upstairs who made the Seahorses. And thanks for having me be a shipper. I really enjoy it.
Right. And then just finally, I want to know yours and Carla's T-shirt sizes, because I've got Seahorse T-shirts on my Teespring store, which is linked in every video I put up, and all the profit you're not going to have to pay for them. I'm going to pay for them, but all the profits,
you are the man,
from those shirts go to the Seahorse Trust, to Neil's Seahorse Trust, and we're doing all right. Yeah, it's
all right. Sizes: large for Carla, although she's just a gorgeous lady, and old Raj 2X, so I can still eat a little bit if you got them. If not, an XL would be great.
No, they come from the also come from the States, so that they print them and then just ship them out, right? So yeah, I'll make sure you get a couple of free Seahorse T-shirts, and I look forward to seeing you wearing those shirts on your dives instead of that red one.
All right. I want to say, Jonathan and Jackie Hall, thanks so much for volunteering. They asked me, we want to sponsor you. I didn't even ask. And so thank you so much. You guys are the best ever. Thank you. All
right, Roger, it's been great. In fact, William summed it up. Good conversation. Roger is inspirational. Well done. I couldn't have said it better than myself. Yeah, thanks. I follow you all the time. I message you all the time. And I do have kind of a plan with a group of divers here on the shallow Seahorse colony, which I've yet to visit in Dubai.
Amen.
To replicate some of your work. But I won't be diving 9 times a week or whatever. But
you're just a kid. You're just a kid. Right. You got time.
Kid. I still get quite a few dives. You know, I think this month I've done what? I've done 27 dives already.
There you go. See?
Right. So,
Yeah.
Roger, thank you. Stay on the line. We'll have a post-show chat.
All righty.
And
thanks, everybody. William, everybody.
cheers.